Now, when I read this as a proposal, it was kind of surprising to me that we didn't already accommodate the need for a little bit of time off work for women who have a miscarriage and potentially their partners as well to support them.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. I think when you read this and you see this as a campaign, you think, well, doesn't that exist already? And it doesn't. I have had 3 miscarriages over my lifetime. As you rightly said, I think it's more than 1 in 4 pregnancies ends in miscarriage. So the first time I was employed, I was in my 20s, and my boss then was actually very kind about it, you know, gave me a couple of days off. But lots of women aren't so lucky. And it's not just that, it's this sort of societal pressure to get back to work as well. If you lose a baby after 24 weeks, rightly, it is an awful thing to go through, and you are supported as you rightly should be. But before, you're kind of meant to just get on with it. And I think that's wrong.
Do you think that most women would be embarrassed, perhaps, to tell their colleagues and their boss that they're going through this? And would this change in legislation help that?
I think so, definitely. I think people are embarrassed, or not necessarily embarrassed. Perhaps they might tell close colleagues or friends, but perhaps they might feel they need to sort of woman up and get on with it. And that, as I said, because you're not showing, perhaps you're very early in your pregnancy, perhaps no one really knew, and you almost feel, well, it's a bit early, there's nothing really happened that's bad, you know, I should just get on with it, when actually internally you might be very, very upset, grieving, still bleeding, still going through the physical implications of a miscarriage, and yet you feel a sort of shame in telling anybody.
Now, there might be some people watching this, Julie, who might say, oh, come on, it's part of life, this is just another reason for employees to whinge. So help us understand what it might be like, what the cost might be to the woman going through the miscarriage.
I think there are lots and lots of costs. I mean, if you're employed, you feel, first of all, you have to go because you're being paid, and you might lose pay if you don't. Secondly, you have to show a face. You have to put a face on. So you might have had several miscarriages. This might be your 8th miscarriage, and you think you're never going to have a baby. So you're going through a lot emotionally, a lot mentally. You might not feel psychologically ready to face people if you're in a customer-facing role, for example, or if you have a very stressful job. So I think this new legislation, if it comes through, would give women sort of a blanket protection from that, to feel that empowered almost to say, this has happened to me. Yes, I didn't show, perhaps. Yes, it's common, but there's legislation there to support that.
OK, well, it's SNP MP Angela Crawley. It's her private member's bill. We will let our listeners and our viewers know how she gets on with that. But thank you so much for joining.